Every so often, an idea emerges that redefines what mobility means. Not through sheer power or excess, but through an audacious commitment to simplicity. A design so pure it challenges every convention of its time. Imagine a machine built not to impress, but to serve. A companion for daily life that becomes an icon of endurance and identity. Its legacy reaches across generations, from muddy farm paths to crowded city boulevards, adapting, evolving, and outlasting everything that was meant to replace it. This is not just a story about engineering. It is about vision, persistence, and the curious alchemy between utility and emotion. If you have ever wondered how something humble could become timeless, this journey will show you. Like, subscribe, and let us know which automotive legend you want us to explore next. In 1959, the Citroën 2CV represented a turning point in how the world viewed transportation. While the automotive landscape of the late 1950s celebrated power, size, and chrome, the 2CV moved in the opposite direction. It celebrated lightness, thrift, and endurance. Designed originally for farmers and workers, the 1959 version marked the refinement of an idea born before the Second World War but perfected in the years that followed. Citroën built the 2CV not for prestige but for purpose, answering a question that few others dare to ask. How little car could still be considered enough? That question shaped every rivet, every curve, and every gear ratio of this small but defiant machine. To understand the 1959 Citroën 2CV, one must first step back into a France still rebuilding from the scars of war. Its people needed affordable transportation that could carry food, tools, and passengers through the unpredictable countryside. Most citizens had bicycles or nothing at all. Cars were a luxury of the elite. Citroën's leadership, guided by engineer Pierre-Jules Boulanger, envisioned a car that would democratize mobility. His vision was simple. A vehicle so efficient that it could cross a plowed field with a basket of eggs without breaking a single one. This philosophy was not marketing poetry. It was a design brief that dictated every decision. The 2CV's ultrasoft suspension, its minimal weight, and its slow but durable two-cylinder engine all grew from that guiding principle. In 1959, this principle reached maturity. Earlier versions of the 2CV had been sparse to the point of absurdity, but by this model year, Citroën refined its practicality into a more coherent, reliable form. The tiny 425 cubic centimeters engine now delivered enough power to maintain highway speeds, at least by the standards of rural Europe. Its body panels, stamped from thin steel and shaped with simple curves, kept costs low while maintaining strength through clever geometry. Even the corrugation of the roof was purposeful. It added stiffness without adding weight. Nothing on the 2CV existed for style alone, yet the result became stylish through honesty. Inside, the 1959 Citroën 2CV offered a cabin of almost monastic simplicity. The seats resembled hammocks strung across a metal frame, easily removable for cleaning or picnics. The dashboard contained only what was essential: a speedometer, a few switches, and a pull start handle. The fabric roof rolled back like a tent flap, transforming the little car into an open-air transporter. Its doors were thin, its windows hinged upward like wings, and its weight barely reached 1,200 pounds. Yet, the driving experience delivered something rare: connection. The 2CV communicated every texture of the road, every bump, every gust of wind. It was an honest conversation between human and machine. What made the 1959 model particularly special was how it balanced the rawness of early production with the confidence of refinement. By this point, Citroën had improved manufacturing consistency, addressed rust protection, and tuned the suspension for better stability. The car retained its quirky character but gained a new reliability that helped expand its reputation beyond France's borders. Across Western Europe, students, farmers, and free spirits began to see the 2CV not merely as transportation but as a statement of independence. The car invited people to travel slowly, to experience the road as part of life rather than a barrier to be conquered. It was a philosophy in motion, a rolling expression of optimism. To many, the 1959 Citroën 2CV looked primitive beside larger, more polished vehicles from other manufacturers. Yet it carried within it a deep engineering intelligence disguised as simplicity. The minimalist design was not a sign of compromise but of mastery over excess. Every detail told a story about human need and mechanical empathy. The fabric roof saved weight and cost while providing versatility. The long travel suspension turned rutted farm tracks into gentle undulations. The small engine delivered incredible fuel economy and reliability even under heavy use. It was not a car for showing off. It was a car for getting through life gracefully. The 2CV also reflected Citroën's larger design philosophy. Progress through unorthodox thinking. The company had already earned a reputation for innovation with models like the Traction Avant, and the 2CV continued that spirit by ignoring conventional wisdom. Rather than chase horsepower or luxury, Citroën's engineers built a car that served people, not status. This design ethos would later influence entire generations of automakers who recognized the power of purposeful minimalism. But in 1959, it was still radical. It was still a gamble. What truly set the 1959 model apart was its timing. By then, Europe was shifting from austerity to prosperity. Families that once relied on bicycles could now afford their first car, and many chose the 2CV. It became a common sight in villages and cities alike, a unifying symbol of mobility for all. Its affordability, combined with legendary reliability, meant it quickly earned nicknames celebrating its humble charm. Drivers learned they could fix almost anything on the car with basic tools. Body panels were interchangeable, parts were cheap, and instructions were straightforward. The 2CV empowered ordinary people to maintain their own vehicles, strengthening a sense of ownership rare in automotive history. Yet, beneath that simplicity lay subtle sophistication. The front-wheel drive system provided excellent traction on wet or unpaved surfaces. The long suspension arms and interconnected springs delivered comfort far beyond what its price suggested. Even the steering ratio was tuned to suit both farm tracks and urban streets. Citroën's engineers had crafted a small car that behaved like a big one, without the cost or the complexity. In essence, the 1959 2CV embodied the perfect balance between minimal means and maximum function. The influence of this car extended well beyond its intended audience. Artists, intellectuals, and travelers began to adopt it as a symbol of authenticity. To drive a 2CV was to make a statement that freedom, simplicity, and resilience mattered more than prestige or performance. Across Europe, it became a cultural equalizer. One could see a farmer and a philosophy professor driving identical cars, both smiling through the same narrow windscreen, both bound by the same humble design that transcended class. This social leveling effect gave the 2CV a deeper meaning than its mechanical specifications could capture. It was not merely a car, it was a small, rolling social movement. By the end of the 1950s, Citroën had produced hundreds of thousands of 2CVs, and the 1959 model year stood as a sweet spot between early austerity and later modernization. It had proven that affordability and aspiration could coexist, that a vehicle built for necessity could inspire affection. Its longevity was not an accident but a byproduct of empathy-driven engineering. Every part of the 1959 2CV reflected care for its users, from the ease of maintenance to the forgiving suspension that treated bad roads gently. As Europe's infrastructure improved, the car that had once been essential for rural survival became an emblem of leisure, adventure, and individuality. The 1959 Citroën 2CV showed that engineering could have a soul, and that utility, when designed with grace, could evolve into beauty. As the 1960s unfolded, the 1959 Citroën 2CV became more than a rural runabout. It turned into a phenomenon that quietly reshaped how people thought about cars. While other manufacturers competed for horsepower and chrome, Citroën doubled down on purity of purpose. The 2CV's formula remained simple: minimal materials, maximum utility, absolute accessibility. Its two-cylinder engine, still modest in power, proved nearly indestructible. Owners drove these cars across deserts, mountains, and jungles with little more than a toolkit and faith in French engineering. This resilience transformed the 1959 Citroën 2CV from an agricultural aid into a global symbol of endurance. Part of its strength came from the car's unconventional mechanical layout. The flat twin air-cooled engine eliminated the need for complex cooling systems. The front-wheel drive configuration provided superior traction on rough ground. Its long travel suspension used interconnected springs that balanced the car side to side, keeping all four wheels planted even on uneven surfaces. These innovations gave the 2CV the ability to traverse terrain that would disable many more expensive vehicles. It was slow, yes, but it always arrived. Reliability became its superpower. In Africa, South America, and Asia, the 2CV proved its worth in climates that punished metal and mechanics alike. Owners found that it would start after long storage, tolerate poor fuel, and shrug off neglect. Its simple construction made it easy to repair with improvised materials. Many local mechanics learned their craft by working on one. In remote regions, a running 2CV often meant the difference between isolation and connection. Citroën never intended to create a global hero, yet by adhering to a humble philosophy, it had accidentally built one. The 1959 model, in particular, was the platform from which this expansion began. Its refinement and reliability made it the benchmark for later variants that would travel far beyond Europe's borders. Cultural impact followed close behind. In the 1960s, the 2CV became the car of students, artists, and travelers who saw it as the embodiment of freedom. It was cheap to own, economical to run, and easy to live with. It required no pretense. It was simply honest transportation. Owning one was an act of quiet rebellion against excess. The 2CV's unpolished aesthetic appealed to those who valued authenticity over appearance. It symbolized a mindset that prioritized experience over image. This attitude resonated deeply during the social shifts of the 1960s and 1970s. Around universities and cities across Europe, rows of 2CVs lined the streets, often painted in bright colors or covered in stickers that reflected their owner's individuality. It became part of the scenery of cultural change. Despite its gentle personality, the 1959 Citroën 2CV also inspired remarkable feats of endurance. Adventurers drove them in long-distance rallies, from the Arctic Circle to the Sahara. The car's simplicity allowed for quick repairs in the field. Entire engines could be swapped in less than an hour. The suspension soaked up endless punishment, while the lightweight body floated over sand and mud. Where others saw fragility, enthusiasts saw possibility. The 2CV became a test of ingenuity as much as endurance. It rewarded patience and cleverness more than raw mechanical power. This adaptability was part of Citroën's genius. Instead of designing the car for one purpose, the company had created a platform that could serve many. There were van versions for tradesmen, pickup conversions for farmers, and even four-wheel drive derivatives for explorers. Each variation traced its DNA back to the 1959 model's engineering balance. Its influence rippled outward into other products and philosophies. Minimalist design was no longer seen as primitive but as intelligent restraint. As technology advanced, the 2CV's simplicity grew more remarkable. Cars of the 1970s and 1980s became heavier and more complex, filled with electronics and luxury features. Yet, the 2CV persisted, largely unchanged in spirit. It was still assembled with hand tools, still powered by its familiar twin-cylinder engine, and still offered that unique ride comfort that felt almost organic. The contrast between the 2CV and its contemporaries made it timeless. Its value was not in what it had, but in what it didn't need. Engineers and designers began to study it not as a curiosity, but as a masterclass in purposeful minimalism. The 1959 Citroën 2CV proved that form could follow function so faithfully that beauty emerged naturally. Even the sound of its tiny engine, a cheerful thrum rather than a roar, became part of its charm. Owners spoke of feeling the car breathe along with them as it climbed hills or glided over dirt roads. It created an intimacy rare in mechanical objects. Citroën's production philosophy also mirrored the car's honesty. The 2CV was built in factories across several continents, often in modest conditions. It used local materials when possible, adapted to regional climates, and introduced affordable motoring to millions who might never have owned a car otherwise. This democratization of mobility echoed the original intent of the 1959 model. What began as a French solution to rural hardship became a global tool for progress. The 2CV's longevity also had an economic and environmental side. Because it was easy to maintain, many units stayed on the road for decades. Some families passed them from one generation to another, maintaining continuity in a rapidly changing world. It represented an alternative to planned obsolescence, an idea decades ahead of its time. To many owners, the 2CV was proof that durability could coexist with joy. Even as newer vehicles promised more speed and comfort, drivers kept returning to the 2CV for the purity of its experience. The steering was light but communicative, the handling forgiving, and the sense of freedom unmatched. A person behind the wheel of a 1959 Citroën 2CV was not simply driving. They were participating in a philosophy. In a world obsessed with efficiency and modernity, this little car reminded people of the beauty in doing more with less. The 1959 model year stands as the most balanced expression of that ideal. It combined post-war resilience with pre-modern simplicity, making it the template for decades of production. When one looks closely, it becomes clear that the 2CV's impact went beyond mechanics or culture. It changed expectations. It showed that cars could be inclusive rather than aspirational. It suggested that technology should serve humanity rather than intimidate it. These lessons ripple through automotive design even today. In every conversation about sustainability, lightness, and efficiency, the ghost of the 1959 Citroën 2CV still lingers as a quiet teacher. It was proof that the simplest ideas, when pursued with conviction, can outlast entire generations of trends. It earned respect not through force, but through faithfulness to purpose. And in that faithfulness, it became immortal. By the late 1970s, the spirit first defined by the 1959 Citroën 2CV had matured into legend. What began as a practical machine for farmers had turned into a cultural emblem that bridged continents and generations. In a marketplace chasing sophistication, the 2CV remained refreshingly honest, still powered by its faithful two-cylinder engine and still wearing its corrugated metal with pride. It was a machine immune to fashion. Owners didn't simply buy it. They adopted it, knowing that each journey in a 1959 Citroën 2CV would be slower, louder, and somehow richer than in any modern car. Its survival wasn't nostalgia. It was defiance wrapped in steel and canvas. The 2CV had become a paradox in motion, a car so outdated that it was always current. Its enduring popularity came from how it reframed what mattered. The 1959 Citroën 2CV didn't isolate the driver from the world. It immersed them in it. Its suspension let the car lean, breathe, and flow with the road rather than conquer it. This organic quality made even the simplest trip an experience. People laughed at its shape but smiled when they drove it. In an age of speed and status, it celebrated patience and connection. That emotional appeal kept it alive even as regulations, safety standards, and consumer tastes shifted toward larger, faster, more complicated machines. Citroën, recognizing that its little car had become something more than a product, treated it with affection rather than haste. Production continued well into the 1980s, decades beyond what anyone had predicted. Each model year carried small refinements, better lighting, minor safety updates, subtle styling changes, but the essence of the 1959 design remained intact. The company understood that tampering with its simplicity would break the spell. What's remarkable is how the 2CV, despite its modest power, fit into every environment. In cities, it navigated narrow streets with agility. In villages, it hauled produce and tools. On mountain roads, it climbed patiently and descended with composure. It was one of the few cars equally at home parked beside a chateau or a barn. That versatility became its legacy. Owners developed a personal relationship with their cars, often naming them, decorating them, and repairing them with care that bordered on devotion. The 1959 Citroën 2CV, though designed as a disposable utility, inspired the opposite of disposability. It became part of the family, part of the memory of a life well lived. Its influence reached into culture in ways few cars have achieved. In films, literature, and art, the 2CV often appeared as shorthand for freedom, innocence, or eccentric charm. It represented a refusal to hurry. To drive one was to choose a different rhythm of life. Journalists wrote that the 2CV taught people to see the world again at 40 miles per hour. The design invited you to feel wind, smell rain, and hear the countryside instead of sealing you away from it. These experiences, trivial to some, became profound to those who understood them. Even as performance cars grew faster and more advanced, the 1959 Citroën 2CV kept its dignity. It was never in competition. It was conversation. When enthusiasts organized long-distance rallies exclusively for 2CVs, it wasn't about winning. It was about surviving together. Teams crossed deserts and mountain passes, their tiny engines humming in unison. Those events embodied the same communal spirit that had birthed the car decades earlier. Mechanics worked side by side, drivers shared parts, and victories were measured in smiles rather than speed. The car's slow pace became its strength. It forced cooperation and humility. In that way, the 2CV revealed a human truth. Progress is not always about going faster but about going further together. The 1959 Citroën 2CV had managed to turn limitations into virtues. Its lightweight body, once seen as flimsy, became a symbol of efficiency. Its modest engine became an example of durability under stress. Its lack of excess became a lesson in elegance through necessity. Modern designers often revisit its blueprint when searching for answers to today's challenges of sustainability and resource management. They see in it the wisdom of doing more with less. The car's environmental footprint, minimal by both historical and modern standards, proved that simplicity often aligns naturally with responsibility. As the 20th century drew to a close, production finally ended, but the 2CV never truly disappeared. Restored examples roamed festivals, rallies, and weekend roads. Collectors prized the earlier versions, with the 1959 Citroën 2CV occupying a special place for its balance of originality and refinement. It was the bridge between the car's rough beginnings and its polished maturity. Enthusiasts sought it out not for rarity, but for purity. It captured the spirit of invention before nostalgia took hold, making it perhaps the truest expression of what the 2CV was meant to be. Across Europe, Asia, and the Americas, clubs formed to keep the legacy alive. Owners exchanged parts, manuals, and stories. Some still use their 1959 2CVs as daily drivers, proving the car's practicality even in a world of smart systems and touchscreens. Every year, gatherings drew hundreds of these vehicles together, filling fields with the gentle chatter of two-cylinder engines. For a few days, time seemed to reverse, and the world returned to a simpler, slower pulse. The enduring affection for the 2CV revealed something profound about human priorities. Despite decades of advancement, people still yearned for machines that felt personal, understandable, and sincere. The 1959 Citroën 2CV embodied that longing perfectly. It was built to serve, but it ended up teaching. It taught that freedom lies not in speed but in independence, that comfort is not isolation but trust, and that beauty often emerges when design forgets to impress and remembers to care. In an age when vehicles increasingly separate driver from road, the 2CV stands as a reminder of balance. It whispers that simplicity is not weakness, that humility can outlast ambition, and that even the most unassuming designs can echo through time with greater force than any supercar. The 1959 Citroën 2CV will always represent a turning point in how humanity understood movement. Not as domination of distance, but as companionship with it. The legacy of the 1959 Citroën 2CV endures because it transcended its own limitations. What began as an answer to a practical need evolved into an enduring statement about purpose and design. The 2CV's story is one of paradoxes resolved. Minimal engineering achieving maximum impact. Humble origins creating global affection. Simplicity outlasting sophistication. Few cars have bridged so many worlds, rural and urban, poor and wealthy, functional and emotional, with such quiet authority. When people recall the 1959 Citroën 2CV, they do not remember statistics or speed. They remember the feeling. They remember the sound of the twin engine buzzing across a country lane, the soft bounce of the suspension, the wind pressing gently against the canvas roof. They remember how it made them smile. That is the true power of design rooted in empathy. Its continued relevance today lies not in nostalgia, but in foresight. The automotive world now faces questions about sustainability, accessibility, and emotional connection. Questions the 1959 Citroën 2CV answered decades ago. It showed that a car could be both democratic and delightful, that progress does not always require complexity. In many ways, it predicted the values that guide modern mobility: lightness, efficiency, and inclusivity. Modern engineers study it not as a relic, but as a benchmark in intelligent restraint. Even in the electric era, its lessons persist. Simplicity is still efficiency. Human-centered design still matters. To drive a 1959 Citroën 2CV today is to experience the origins of that wisdom firsthand. It remains approachable, reparable, and alive with character. It makes every mile feel honest. That honesty has become its monument. When enthusiasts gather, when restorers preserve another car from rust, when a young driver discovers that old cars can have personality beyond nostalgia. That is the 2CV's afterlife in motion. It will never disappear, because it never depended on fashion. Its endurance comes from meaning. The 1959 Citroën 2CV reminds us that greatness in engineering is not measured by complexity, but by clarity of purpose. It invited the world to slow down, to participate, and to appreciate motion as an act of connection. In doing so, it achieved what most machines can only aspire to: a kind of immortality that lives not in museums, but in the hearts of those who still turn its simple key. Enduring, authentic, unafraid to be humble. The 1959 Citroën 2CV remains a moving reminder that when technology serves humanity with grace, it never truly grows old.